Hi folks, Dr. Rob Cywes. I am the Carb Addiction Doc, and I am a clinically practicing physician. I've got a huge number of patients, all of whom are trying to improve their metabolic health, either struggling with addiction, struggling with certain behavioral issues, trying to improve themselves from an athletic competitive perspective or from an improvement in health perspective. And as such, I encounter a variety of different personalities and hear a variety of different concerns and concepts that come from our patients. So since this is the beginning of a new year, it's the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, I thought that I would give you a kind of summary list of things that have just made me go, aha, here's where a person can make a difference. Because I hear that as I'm speaking to patients. And what's interesting for me, if you are a person that I've already met and gotten to know a little bit through your medical and genetic history, the second visit and every visit after that, I will always ask you this question. What's been going on since the last time we met? What's been happening with you? And I listen very carefully to what everybody leads with, because it's a very open-ended question, and we lead with what's at the top of our head. And typically in my space, there are three areas that people lead with. The first one is they lead with all the shit in their lives. Oh, this thing happened, that thing happened. And those are all the stresses and strains in their lives that validate and justify to themselves a relapse, going back to an old way of coping, often eating carbohydrates or an old way of instant gratification. But they don't say, look, I've fallen into a tub of ice cream and I can't get out. They use emotional tension as a validation and a justification for why something happened, and I know immediately they've gone backwards. The second group of folks early on are very pragmatic about telling me what changes they've made to their eating pattern. They're eating differently, they're not eating this, they're very proud of it. And that's excellent, but that's still part of the dietary part, which is an essential early step to go through the dietary, what I'm eating, what my eating pattern looks like. But the best answer, the one I'm really looking for, is an optimistic, futuristic, actionable. You know what? I haven't been on a vacation for 10 years. I took a vacation. I went to Europe. I went to the next town over. I started running. I started playing the guitar. I've gone back to church. I've rekindled a relationship with an old school friend, or I'm working on a better relationship with my wife, where they are positive and empowered by things that you are doing in a proactive way. I've worked on my habits, I've worked on my routines, I've worked on my rituals. Here's what I am doing, and here's what I'm going to do. Because the future is about happiness, health, and optimism. The past cannot be that. So I'm going to go through a short list. Well, actually, it's not a short list. It's 18 different things that I could come up with that are a list of things that I listen to and hear from my patients and use as a platform to help you to make certain changes. The first one, obviously, I am the Carb Addiction Doc. So the first one are the three forms of relapse. And there are three forms of addictive relapse. The first one is eating carbohydrates, going back to the consumption of sugar and starch or lookalikes. The second thing is snacking. And a snack is always an emotional event, and a snack by definition is any form of calories. Whether it's pepperoni and cheese or ice cream and M&Ms, a snack is always for your head, not for your body. So I listen to people that have gone back to snacking and are justifying people that are eating carbohydrates. And then the third thing is binge eating. And that's a personal problem for me, a personal frontier for me, is have I gone back to eating larger portions, to eating obscene amounts of food per meal because I'm afraid to undereat? And have I outsourced the amount of food I'm eating to somebody that can be more responsible than myself? So binge eating, return of carbohydrates, snacking, those are three principles you can begin to work on. But I hear about that all the time, and that is where people are using their stress to justify going back to those three addictions. The next thing I listen to are people who are constantly complaining. I call this the Elon moment or the Musk moment. Now, you can have your say about Elon, obviously he's very political. But the one thing I loved about Elon Musk, the way he lives his life, is he lives his life by just doing it. by fixing things that he sees are wrong. Instead of complaining, oh, the banking industry is terrible. Oh, the big three fossil fuel industry is bad. Oh, NASA's terrible. Oh, the cell phones are terrible. He doesn't complain. Elon does, and we also can do. So the next point is stop complaining. What did Elon do? PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, SpaceLink. You do things. You fix them. Now, at a small microcosm, stop complaining or hear your own complaints and say, okay, how do I fix this? And focus on the fixing, not the complaining. And yes, it may be a very high barrier. But if you don't try, you don't start. We'll talk about that in a second. And part of that, when you're complaining, what you're also doing is using complaining to procrastinate. And the human brain hates procrastination. Just do it. Put on your Nikes and just do it. Just start it. So when you're having that Elon moment, the one thing that Elon doesn't do is procrastinate. In fact, sometimes he starts something that might be a mistake. Buying X, buying Twitter might have been a mistake. But he did it. It's not perfect. But he didn't sit there and complain about Twitter. He was actionable. So try to recognize when you're complaining, when you're procrastinating, and when you're finding reasons not to do something, and JDI, just do it. The next point is also part of that. When people come up with a good idea, and then they come up, I call it fat head, when they come up with a good idea and then they immediately come up with 10 reasons why it's a bad idea because their focus is to avoid challenges. Yes, challenges are difficult. Yes, you may not succeed. But stop avoiding challenges. So all three of these, stop complaining, stop procrastinating, stop avoiding challenges, all rolled into one. But when you do take on a challenge, when you do begin something, don't expect quick rewards. Don't expect quick rewards. Don't desire quick rewards. Don't go to the gym today and stand in front of the mirror tomorrow flexing your muscles and hope that you've suddenly got big pecs or big biceps. It doesn't work that way. Be the tortoise. Slowly, slowly, slowly earn the rewards. But stop wanting quick rewards. I haven't lost weight for a week. My weight's been the same the whole week. Who cares? What is it over a month? What is it over a year? What is it over 10 years? The work you put in over time that matters, not the quick rewards. And then what we do is when we are focused on outcomes, we engage in negative self-talk. People who are raised in an authoritarian family lifestyle are very good at beating the crap out of themselves. And then if you beat yourself up, you need some ice cream to make you feel better. How stupid is that? Catch yourself in negative speak and turn it around into a probability, into a possibility, into optimism. How do I do this? Not, I'm a terrible person for not doing it. Don't ever use the words, I need to, I must, I have to. I want to, I desire to, I'd like to. And then just do it. Imagine the possibilities, but catch yourself and walk back the negative self-speak. Trade self-speak for affirmation after you've done something. Self-affirmation is crucial in this process. And if you are self-affirming, because the next one is a big one, I hear people always blaming others for what's happening. Nobody is responsible for your life. They can help or hinder, but ultimately you make your own choices. And it's very seldom that you are a victim of other people without exception. So try to live in a world of self-affirmation based on self-action and stop blaming others for every little thing that goes wrong. If you stop blaming others, you learn to ask for help. And while, yes, we are responsible for our own health and happiness, we can look for help. For example, on this very channel, if you're sitting there now saying, oh, I'm part of all those things. Yes, all those things are true about me. Well, maybe you can reach out 561-517-0642 and we can help you. We can partner with you. to give you the motivation, to give you the confidence, to give you the direction at which, yes, you still have to put the hard work in, but we can guide you, we can help you. So ask for help. Not asking for help and not doing is staying the same or going backwards. You're going to make mistakes, folks. Everybody does. Have an algorithm. The one we use is OAC. You own a mistake, you analyze why it happened, and you come up with a corrective plan. But dwelling on past mistakes, living in the past and living in a world where you are beating yourself up for your own mistakes is a massive wrongdoing to yourself, and it perpetuates the mistake. Okay, I made a mistake. Here's what I did. I'm not happy with it. Let's analyze how it happened. What were the circumstances? And I can't undo it, but how can I, the next time I'm in a similar position, how can I fix that? What is my CAPA? What is my corrective action plan? OAC, ownership, analysis, correction. Don't dwell on past mistakes. Own them and fix them. And at the same time, while I don't want you to dwell on mistakes, take personal responsibility. Take personal responsibility. And one of the big issues I currently have with current leadership of all varieties, nobody is taking personal responsibility for anything. And it's a terrible trend. Terrible trend. You know what? I made a mistake. I screwed up. Here's how I'm going to fix it. Own the problem. Take ownership of your mistakes, even quietly in your own head. Take responsibility and fix them. And part of the issue, this is the next big one. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be scared to fail. So often people set ridiculous limits for themselves, so high that nobody can be successful, and they create failure out of their expectations. The only expectation I want you to set for yourself is JDI, just doing it. And do not be afraid to fail. Stop being scared to fail. Imagine how you can do something that may or may not lead to success. I've done plenty of things that didn't work out, but I was never afraid to try. And set goals for yourself. I don't call them goals though, I call them milestones. What's my next milestone? What is the next thing I desire to do? And every month, a little equation where on the first day of every month, I set a standard, I set a goal for myself or a milestone for myself that I want to do every day. Okay, I'm going to do 1 push-up per day and every day add 30 push-ups. So by the end of a 30-day month, you're doing 30 push-ups. Set little objectives for yourself, little milestones for yourself, and do them each day until they become habit. Part of fat head, and I see this all the time, is people overthinking everything. Yeah, but if this happens, and it's the same thing as the Elon Musk moment. Complaining or looking for reasons. Oh, but if this happens, if I do this. I had somebody the other day who's got parasites in their colon. Okay? Damn it all, you got parasites in your gut, they don't belong there. Take the parasitic medication and get rid of them. Oh, but what about this? And what about... Guess what? Those parasites are smiling and breeding like crazy. Fix the damn problem. But if you sit there over it and sending me 10 emails about, what if I do this? What if I do this? What if I... Delete. Just do it. Or don't do it. But stop complaining. Stop overthinking. Do it or don't do it. But overthinking everything is a huge concern with a number of my patients. Most people with a substance abuse problem, most people with an addiction have a very poor sense of self. And in order to boost that sense of self artificially, they compare themselves with others. Stop comparing yourself to others. Compare yourself to yourself. Compare the person you are today with the person you were yesterday, and imagine the person you're going to be tomorrow. The only comparison is to self, and not from the past, from today to tomorrow. Imagine the future. But so often we get people trapped in comparison with others, and they use comparison with others. Well, I'm not that fat, or at least I can do this or that. No, compare yourself with yourself. Am I better today than I was yesterday? And what am I going to do tomorrow to make myself better than I am today? But comparing yourself to others is a huge liability. And part of that is being around negative people. Being around people who tell you can't, or you shouldn't, or you mustn't. Be around people who can help you to imagine the possibilities. They may not work out. But imagine the possibilities of something good. That's the key. If there are people, the negative Nellies, the people that just keep telling you what's wrong with something, flip them around. Look for people that encourage you to take that risk. The phrase I use for my son, he's 4 years old. One of the dominant phrases I use for him. Be cautious, but brave. Be cautious, but brave. Think things through, make sure you're certain, and then just do it. Not certain that it's going to work out, but certain that that's what you want to do. Don't waste your time waiting for that moment. Be cautious, but brave. But stop surrounding yourself with negative people. Those are different than people that are cautious. But the negativity drags you down. Take risks. Take risks. Be cautious but brave. People who are afraid to take the risk of trying are going to stay the same, and you never stay the same. You always go backwards. You're either moving forward or backwards. Nobody stays the same. Take risks. Take risks. I hate the focus of self-discipline. I must control this. I have to. I need to. Self-discipline is not that. Self-discipline is more about just doing it. The discipline comes from not procrastinating. The discipline comes from not being sidetracked, not being negative, not being comparative. Self-discipline is about the absence of inertia. Think that one through, folks. Self-discipline is about showing up a little bit early, working hard when you're working, and maybe staying a little bit later, but also having that time of rest. And what we're talking about with self-discipline is the joy of investing in yourself. Be cautious but brave and execute. Self-discipline is the absence of detractors, not something positive. Self-discipline happens in the absence of inertia. Think that one through. And then the final one that I hear all the time is, especially on the internet where you've got all these gum flappers on the internet, if you get trapped into what everybody else says, what their funny story is, if they are not you, would you take advice from somebody who is not you? Who is maybe a little bit less than you? Be very cautious about who you take advice from. And the ideal thing is to have an inner circle of 3 or 4 people and AI with caution. I'm introducing AI. It's my big narrative for 2025. It's something I want to invest in. So you'll hear this in the theme because it's from me personally. But have 2 or 3 or 4 people that you trust implicitly that they will not be critical or judgmental of you. That they'll give you honest feedback. Whether you accept or not accept that feedback, take that feedback for a walk and process it. Because it wasn't meant to hurt. It may sting. It wasn't meant to hurt. But be analytical of that. Be analytical of that feedback. Have 2 or 3 people in your life where you do care what they think, but for the overwhelming majority, ignore the noise. Ignore the noise. Because the overwhelming majority of people are trying to sell you something, pitch you something, or tell you what you are not. And I hope that these insights from the myriad of patients that I see, the successful ones, for the most part, are doing what we talked about at their own pace. The ones that are trapped in inertia are victims of these 18 points. And I hear them and I see them every day. And my job is to filter that out and help to turn each one of those events around where I see it and help that person to reflect on it slightly differently. Get a different perspective. Because so often we are so locked down in our own perspective. We don't have the capacity for empathy. We don't have that capacity to see ourselves through the eyes of others. And in large part in my practice, that's what I provide. No matter how well or poorly you're doing, how can we help you to take that next step in this inevitable journey of life? Where tomorrow is a better day than today. I am the Carb Addiction Doc. If you need reflection, if you need feedback, 561-517-0642. If you like the content, drop us a buck at Patreon, drop us a buck at PayPal. It's all in the show notes. But leave your comments. And if you disagree with what I'm saying, that's fine. Yell and shout at me. This is an interactive discussion.